everybody. Welcome on in. My name is Jalen Jones, digital producer here at WRAL, and I have a superhero. I have a superhero in our midst, and it's called Queen Save. I don't know.
I like that. I'll take
you
the
like
Queen
that name?
title. Yeah.
You like that name? Okay. Well, Queen Save, Keely Arthur, 5 on your side herself. I just appreciate you for making some time, and we are going to talk about Duke Energy. I think Duke Energy is on everybody's mind constantly here in North Carolina, also South Carolina as well. And you have another save, another solve, some tips. What do you have for us?
Right. So I think most people know how 5 on your side works. We get people email into us and ask for help from everything from like
we've seen pets, we've seen bills, we've seen cell phones, mix-ups,
all of it. I think one time I solved a bar tab where like the tip was forged, all kinds of things.
Yes.
But out of all of the complaints we receive, I would have to say Duke Energy is probably like the number one thing we see over and over and over again. People complaining about high bills. Now, a lot of times, so I only get involved with things when there's an error. I can't just, rent's being raised. That's just unfortunately the way the world works. So when it's just a pure cost thing, I can't get involved. But if there's a billing error, I get involved. So in this case, I got an email from a woman asking for my help. She received a letter from Duke Energy essentially threatening to turn the lights off if she didn't pay down about an $800 balance. And I got to looking at it. And the reason why I decided to take the case on is because she was using budget billing. And she had lived in the same house for decades. Now, the way budget billing works is each month you're going to pay variations to Duke because your heating and cooling needs are going to be different from like March to August to November.
I'm tracking.
And so what budget billing does is it takes your previous year's usage and then it just divides the cost of that evenly to the next year. So let's say you spent $1,000 total or $1,200 total in
2025.
Then if you're on budget billing for 2026, you would have $100, $100. So it would be so it's like a little bit more manageable from a budget standpoint. And that is kind of the way it works is if you used less energy than that 100 every month, then at the end of the year, you are given back that money. And the flip happens too. So let's say I used more energy this year or it was more expensive, then I'm going to be, I owe them a balance.
Okay.
So this woman was told that she owed an $800 balance and it like totally blindsided her. She's retired, living on a fixed income. So I started looking at it and I realized the usage from the one year to the other year was like very similar. So she was dealing with 2023 versus 2024. Her usage in February 2023 was very similar to 2024, but the bill was way higher.
Okay.
And so she was paying the like $142 sometimes, which was her budget billing amount, but sometimes she wasn't. So every time she would call Duke, they would be like, "It's your usage. This is why you owe a balance." But in looking at it, it wasn't her usage. Okay. So I don't know about you, but if you ever looked at a Duke Energy bill, there's so many numbers. It's actually fairly confusing.
Yes.
I like read through legal documents and stuff. I'm no expert, but like I like to think that I can take a document and look at it and kind of make sense of it.
It's just like a bank statement at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Exactly. And it's all over the place. So I began looking at it and I pointed out to Duke Energy, like her usage hasn't changed. And they went back and were able to determine that she had balances where she, on some months, just hadn't paid at all. And it was because it was the cost of things was so overwhelming. Then there's like late fees tacked on that. Now those are small, but it just ballooned. It wasn't her usage. It was the fact that there were unpaid bills that just started to stack up. And then her usage did tick up a little bit in the winter time. So the solve, it wasn't that there was a billing error. Most of the things that I do when I'm fixing Duke Energy issues, I'm finding an issue with a billing error. I did a story years ago where I got a guy back $20,000. He was a barbershop owner. He had for years been paying the energy bill for the liquor store next door. And when the pandemic happened and the liquor store remained open and the barbershop closed, he was still getting electric bills for $800 a month. And
I remember this story.
And that's when I got involved. And he had been told by Duke for years, everything's fine. It took, 1, 2, 3 phone calls from me with Duke Energy for them to realize, oh, the lines are crossed, and the place that's supplying all of the coolers and everything in the liquor store is paying the bill for a barbershop. So anyway, that's usually what I can do with Duke Energy. In this case, there was nothing wrong with her bills per se, but I really didn't want her to live without lights. I mean, her power is going to be shut off. She's on
a fixed income. She's a little bit older. There's real concerns there.
Exactly. And very kind woman, like, this should not be happening to her, frankly, or anybody. So they were able to extend the duration in which she had to pay it off. It went from $800 to $375. She's on a payment plan now. And I'm trying to connect her with assistance programs available. But again, like, that's another headache too. It's really hard. It's not really hard to obtain those things, but it's just like another paperwork, another thing to deal with.
And before we get into those programs, I did want to kind of like hit a couple points here. I have 2 questions for you. This wasn't necessarily an issue on Duke's side. What can people do to interpret their bills better? And what can people do before they call you? Let's talk about those steps real quick.
Listen, I was on budget billing when I bought my townhome. I went on it. And it wasn't wise because they used the previous owner's energy usage to come up with my average because I hadn't lived in the house for a year.
Yeah.
So my first piece of advice is if you want to do budget billing, wait until you've been in the house or the apartment or whatever for at least a year.
Okay.
So that way the average reflects your usage, not the previous owners or tenants, because you know me, Jalen, I'm using my hair dryer and I'm curling my hair. I'm doing a lot in the house.
You're a totally different person than the other person.
Yeah, and I do a lot of work from home where I'm writing. I think both of these people, they were working elsewhere. So anyway, I ended up owing a lot of money at the end of the year, and it was kind of a sticker shock. So do budget billing if you think it's going to be really reflective of your usage, but I would really hold off on that. I find it's better to just go, okay, I know it's going to be more expensive in the winter and the summer peak months, and I'm going to get a little bit of a reprieve in the fall and the spring versus have everything be the same and then at the end of the year be slapped with a huge balance. Yeah. So that's my first piece of advice, kind of proceed with caution on budget billing. Second piece of advice is you can set the date in which your Duke Energy bill is due. So if you get paid, the 1st and the 15th, or, every 2 weeks, whatever is going to make it easy for you to have the most money to pay that bill so you're not having to, swipe the credit card or whatever. So make sure you're picking a date that works best for you. And then Duke Energy has some programs where, if you don't want to use energy during peak hours, they'll give you, a bit of a break or a kickback. But again, that's just untenable to the way we live today, where we're working from home. We need energy at whenever. You don't want that to really have to dictate your day to day. So those are the things that you can do in the summer, and it's really hot out, and you want it to be cool in the house, bring the blinds down. In the winter, when it's really cold out and the sun is really bright, bring the blinds up.
Yes.
Ticking down, keep your thermostat to the lowest comfortable setting when it's cold, so that way you're not having to spend a lot of money on heating. Keep it to the highest comfortable setting when it's hot. So same thing. You can use a fan. Turn the fan off when you're not in the room, because the fan is meant to cool the body. It's not going to cool the room. And it can bring, I think, the temperature down 4 degrees if you're in the space with the fan. So just little things like that. And then do an audit of your home. See if there's any drafts. I mean, you can recaulk the windows, the doors. If you want to just be very lazy about it, because I'm not handy at all, you can roll up a towel and push it up against the door. Little things like that. And then Duke Energy offers a program where they can go out to your home, and they don't do it for like renters, I don't think, but for single family homes, they can go out and like see if there's any drafts or anything like that, and then check your meter. They can do all those things for free. Just, knowledge is power.
Good to know. Good to know. I know one thing I found is light bulbs. Using lamps more often than main overhead lights. That really helps out a lot because those consume a lot of power. People don't know.
And then they'll say like LED lights, consume less power than a traditional light bulb. Obviously, they're more expensive off the bat when you're, buying them and putting them in your shopping cart. But as you use them, you're supposedly going to see a lower bill.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the programs, what should people do before they call you?
Just try. Frankly, watch some of my stories. So, like a story that's airing later today, and that I've aired a few times over the year, is like how to understand your energy bill. I go like line item by line item to like, this is what this number means. This is what this number, this like recovery rate, or I forget what it's called, but it's basically like you're paying for damage incurred by storms. Like you're paying Duke Energy some of that. So even if your home's not damaged, like, it's kind of the spread the wealth. Yeah. So look and see if you can just make sense, if there's ways for you to understand like why you're paying what you're paying for. So do that. If you really think there's a problem, like the barber shop owner, like he was told over and over again, everything is fine. And it took the pandemic for him, to realize that it wasn't fine. But have them come out and check your meter. Like if you really think it's wrong, you can have people, Duke Energy does all those things independent of me, and that's available for anybody. So understand your bill, look at the resources that Duke offers, like those at-home visits, and then really play around with the like energy vampires that we talk about. A lot of people leave like appliances or different things plugged in all day and just the like power strip cord, that cord, if there's a bunch of things, plugged into it, if that's just on, it's feeding power to all of those things, and you can turn them on. So it's going to suck a lot of energy and raise your bill. So those are kind of my tips. But if you really feel like the bill is wrong, or you are at a point where your lights are going to be flipped off and nobody's helping you otherwise, then you can totally come to me.
Talk to Keely. All right, let's close out. Let's talk about some of these programs, because I found these programs pretty fascinating. I've never heard of them. I didn't know Duke offered them, but a little bit of a pain to probably access.
Yeah, so I believe it's on everybody's bill. There's something called Share the Light Fund, and if you're like in good financial shape and you want to, pay it forward, you can donate some money. You can give more on your bill, and it will go to something called Share the Light Fund. And it basically is a Duke Energy fund. And what I thought it was like Duke Energy collected the money and then administered it. That's not how it works. What Duke Energy does is they collect the money, and they say they contribute some of the money themselves, and then they hand it out to local like county and city programs, and then you can go and access it that way. Some money is given via like income based, so you have to like be at like a certain level of the poverty threshold.
Makes sense.
Which is really difficult, because the people that reach out to me, like these people are not the worst of the worst.
They're middle class.
They're middle class, but as everything is costing more, gas, food, all of it, like everybody needs help. And so but some are needs based. So like if your lights are being threatened to be shut off or whatever, you can get help that way. There's the LEI program. I might be saying that wrong, but that's a program I think that is income based, but it's only available in the winter months. And then there are other programs where like they can get you a new HVAC unit that's more like energy efficient, things like that. So I am working on the web copy right now, but we'll have a list of all of those programs that are available. And I fear more people are going to be needing to tap into those, because in the last 6 years, your energy bill has gone up 20%. Duke will say, it's more because of cold weather or whatever and your usage. No,
Data
a lot of it
centers.
has to do
Yeah.
with the factors that are outside of your control. So, and back to the bill, you can see what your usage is and then all the other things that you're paying for.
Absolutely. Well, Keely, thank you so much for informing the public. I'm definitely going to link all those resources on this video as well.
Great.
Where can people find you on the socials? Where can people find your reporting?
Message me on Instagram. It's at Keely Arthur, and I look at Instagram a lot. And then WRAL.com/5 on your side. We have a report it form. So if you need to contact me about a consumer issue, you can do that. And my advice to anyone there is be really concise. It's really difficult. I know everybody has like a lot to say,
A
but
heart story. Everybody has a heart story.
Heart story, and like it can get very long, but I only have so many hours in the day. I have so many people needing my help. So if you can be concise and, send me a few sentences and really lay out the problem, it's much easier for me to help you.
Also, in that reported form, you can attach files as well. So adding those pictures, adding those files, PDFs, those really help move the process along as well. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks so much, Keely. And again, you guys can go to WRAL.com, go to the 5 Your Size section, and there is all the previous reporting, or just go in the search engine on WRAL.com. Search Duke Energy. You're going to see plenty of stories. If one of those stories could probably fit your situation, go ahead, go on a rabbit hole, research a little bit, see what you may need to help you out in your specific situation. If you're having an issue with Duke, if you guys have not, go ahead, like and subscribe. Totally free. Doesn't sign you up for anything. What it does is make sure that the latest from WRAL is in your feeds, and we want that to happen, and hope you have a great day.